know. Freak me out. Woo.
I'm trying to see how long you'll wait.
Yeah, that's not cool. Don't do that.
I'm not going to say it.
Why?
It's too late now. It doesn't feel right.
Fuck. All right. Okay.
We're on to a new era. We've changed the format of our podcast. I think it's time we get rid of...
we have to change the ending because we are now on YouTube. Everyone go follow us on YouTube and subscribe. Have you subscribed? We have 2 subscribers. Auntie is one of them.
I'll get right on it. We'll have 3.
So go ahead and subscribe there. We don't have a video, but we have a static image that you can watch and listen to if you want to do that on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's a new place people can hear our voices.
It is. It's brand new, and they're all there, and I did it all by myself. All right. So today, what are we talking about? American Nightmare.
Do not look at my notes. You suggested it.
I have part 1, the boyfriend, down here.
Do not look at my notes.
But we are going to be talking about American Nightmare. It is on Netflix. It is a 3-parter.
We're doing a run-through and a reaction.
Yeah.
Like I left this entire section blank. I don't know what I was doing. I was working while I was doing it, and then... Yeah.
Okay. So... we're going to start. I did not know anything about this case. Like, I had read whatever it said on the Netflix thing.
Didn't even do that.
Oh, you didn't do that? So I was like, okay, that looks cool. Like, let's try this. I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, I'm not going to research beforehand. I'm not going to Google anything. So I was, like...
in the dark.
The dark about everything. And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, so we start with, it's a 3-part series. We start with part 1, which is called The Boyfriend, and they're in Vallejo, California.
Why are you looking at me?
Right?
Yeah.
But there was another
Mare Island.
Mare Island, that's what it is, yes.
Actually.
So.
March 2015.
Yes. We start at 1:53 p.m. A 911 phone call comes in, and the man on the line says his girlfriend has been kidnapped, that he had been tied up, so he couldn't call 911 that night, but he called the next morning. What?
The next afternoon.
The next afternoon.
But, like...
What? And he wasn't rushed. He wasn't sounding, he was just like, hello, my name is Aaron. My girlfriend has been kidnapped. Like, what the fuck?
I hate that for him.
I do too.
Because I feel like it set the tone.
It did.
For like the rest of everything in that first like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
When the 911 operator's like,
what?
So you didn't call last night?
Right.
And then his story is just...
It's insane.
Crazy.
You can't make it up.
Also, I put a note here that says the music is like a suspenseful banger. Like, it was really good music. Yeah. It made me feel different emotions.
It did.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy, though, that he was tied up all night.
So, yeah, he said he was tied up and drugged, which I was like, dude, same. I take sleeping pills every night.
I do get tied up every night, too.
I don't get tied up, but, like, I don't fall asleep, so.
Is there something you need to tell me?
I guess don't get someone that has insomnia and kidnap them because they won't fall asleep. Anyway.
I'm still awake,
I am
bitch.
still awake, motherfucker. So at this point, Denise is his girlfriend. Aaron is the boyfriend. And
I do briefly, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I do
ahead.
briefly want to mention that they show footage of the police arriving to his house. Mm-hmm. Is that what you were going to talk about?
No, but go ahead.
So then he's outside, like they tell him to sit outside of the house, and I'm assuming they're looking through it or something. And he's so honest.
Yeah, he does seem honest from the start.
So genuine, so honest. But I put a note here that says, he's a good guy. He pet his cat while the police were searching the house. Because there's like a video of him out front. And then I was like, you hear, meow, and you see him start petting the cat.
He actually didn't, like, I didn't think right away that he was like, 100% guilty, like, from that first The phone call made it seem weird, but after listening to him talk, I was like, I don't know. I think he might have an actual story.
So I'll tell you what I thought as we get more into it, but like I felt that he was genuine, like 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, I thought he was 100% genuine. The phone call was just a little like, because he didn't sound like frantic, you know? But other than that, I think everything was. So anyway, Denise has been missing for 10 hours, and the police take his clothing and take his blood, and I don't know where I'm going with that.
Where are you going?
I don't know.
Well, you're going to where this station, so why don't we talk about what Aaron says happened?
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about that. Yeah.
Want to talk about it?
You can talk about it.
So he tells the same story every single time. Yes. Every detail is the same. And I feel like if you've done enough true crime reading, you know that that's when they get you. Yeah. Because it's really hard to remember all those minute details and the lies. Yep. And he remembers every detail. Mm-hmm. And it's always the same. It is. So Aaron says, and you can listen to the whole spiel. He says that he's told he wakes up in the middle of the night with a loud flash. A loud flash, yeah. Which seems like... Well, like, I think... Like noise. Noise, and then like a bright shining light directly in their face. And there's like a musical that almost sounds like a wind chime. Yeah. He says, and he... I have a note that says health professional kidnappers, and I'm not sure why I have that note now. I remember. Oh, because Denise is a physical therapist? No. Oh. It was something he described the kidnappers as that made me put that note. Because my next note is scuba diving kidnappers. Oh, because of the goggles? I can't remember why I wrote it now. Huh. Dang, I should have put another note. Yeah. No, they took the vital signs. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did. So he's told... Yes. So the person comes in, there's that music, like the sound, and they say, Aaron, lie face down. Mm-hmm. They use his first name. Yeah. Lie face down. And so he does, right? Because like this person's holding... Right, a gun. A gun, he presumes. Yeah. And then he continues to go on and say that like the person... He took his vital signs and like his temperature. Like what? It's just really weird. Like I just don't understand. There's so many crazy like details. Took the vital signs, and then the person is wearing a scuba diving suit. Right. Puts a blanket on them because he's cold. Because he's cold. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I didn't realize that. I forgot you guys would be cold. It's cold in here because I'm wearing a wetsuit. Right. You're like, what the fuck? Huh? What? So, and then he puts like these goggles on them, like swim goggles that are taped completely black. Yeah. So you can't see anything, and takes him to another room. Or I think he gives him the medicine, drugs him up, and then probably ties him up. Yeah, like I thought he tied him up on the bed. Regardless, I don't know. He gets tied up. He gets put into another room where he gets really specific instructions. Like, I'm going to watch you on a camera, and if you leave this red taped area, I will come back and kill you, I think. Yeah. Do not communicate with the police. Like, totally random. We want money, but he also mentions, the kidnapper also says that they're targeting Andrea. Mm-hmm. Who is not Denise. No. Andrea is Aaron's ex-fiance, who they hadn't been together for, I don't remember how long at that time. Like a couple of years, I think, right? Oh, I don't think it was years, but maybe I'm wrong. Really? Who knows? I don't know. Could be wrong. Okay. But the kidnapper's like, well, I gotta take this ransom. Right. So, like, but fuck it, Denise will do. So they just take Denise. They drug her. So they drug Denise, lead her out of the house, put her in the back of Aaron's own car,
Yeah.
and then leave in Aaron's car.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. First, how'd you get in?
Right.
There's no forced entry.
Right.
How'd you get there?
Yeah.
You didn't bring your own car?
Right.
Did you take a fucking Uber? Like, a taxi, a Lyft, a city bus? How did you get there?
Right.
And why the wetsuit?
And yeah, and the goggles and the wetsuit thing are very dramatic. That's another thing. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Come on. And then to have to say that story to the cops and be like, okay, so this homie dude came in with a wetsuit on, they're going to be like, bro, let's go over that again and tell me the real story.
It almost feels so much more calculated.
Right.
Because
they know
so outlandish.
That they're going to be like, no way, this guy's an idiot.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so my next note is that Denise's family is like a little bit suspicious of Aaron because they had only met him once.
Yeah.
So they didn't really know him.
Right.
And her dad says something so sweet. Her dad's like, but she never picked bad guys before.
Right. Oh,
so
yes.
like,
I know.
We figured he's a really good guy. Yeah. And I was like, oh, like the sweetest thing ever.
I know. It was really cute. Yeah, so then we learned Denise is a physical therapist. She's like the all-American girl. Everybody, she's blonde, she's pretty, she's got everything going for her. And like she's not like a girl with issues or problems or backgrounds. Like she's just a normal person. So like why does someone want to kidnap her? And B, like where are they go? Like what? I don't know. Huh?
I'm just picturing the cat.
Huh?
So we do know, though, that the kidnappers want $15K.
Yes, they did say that. Yes.
And that there's more of them and, like, this whole story. It's very elaborate.
And Aaron, mind you, says he was like, so I called the bank and I could get a loan for $3,500.
Advanced me $3,500.
Oh, my God. I'm like, who the fuck
is
is
And then I told them I only have $3,500. Like, is that enough?
Oh my God. Like so if you're kidnapping someone for ransom, shouldn't you make sure that they actually have the money to give before this guy's like going to the bank begging for a loan and they're giving him $3,000. Like.
Okay. Well, two things there.
Be smart.
If you're kidnapping someone, shouldn't you make sure you have the right someone? And if you have the wrong someone, you just fucking dip out and don't do it.
Peace.
So Aaron says that he can't trust the kidnappers, but he can trust the police because remember they told him not to call the police.
Yeah.
So he calls, even though the kidnappers were like watching him on this camera. And like, wouldn't the police have noticed there's a fucking camera mounted?
Yeah, I would think so. Who knows?
When you see the rest of their police work,
right?
You'd be surprised to know they don't.
Right.
But back to how Aaron and Denise know each other.
Yeah.
So Denise is a physical therapist, as is Aaron, as is Andrea.
Yes.
His ex-fiance. They all work together.
At the same place.
Messy. Messy. What do they say? Don't shit where you eat.
Nope.
I mean,
don't.
It actually.
It
turns out for them.
Yeah, it does. It does. But getting there was like more stressful than it needed to be.
Yeah.
So
we hear from Andrea, who got taken in by the police for questioning, that their relationship ended very bad terms.
Yes.
Andrea was cheating on him. And she says that Aaron was trying to get back together with him.
Yeah.
But Aaron says that he was like mostly just being professional.
Yeah.
But then he mentions that he was texting with her and he was trying to get back together with her.
Yeah.
And that maybe Denise had seen these texts.
I think he was probably not over it completely. I think he loved Denise.
He said that he did. And he also
But it's hard. Like, you're engaged to someone. It's hard to just stop those feelings altogether.
And it wasn't like he broke up with her, right?
Right.
Like she betrayed him in the worst way you can probably betray someone.
Yeah.
Like, you know. But he also tells the police that he was committed to like working things out with Denise, even though things were bad right now, and that he was not being super good to her and like was not fully earned her trust or like taking care of her trust the way he should have. Like so genuine. He is.
Yeah, he actually he comes off as a really good guy.
And that he was like going to therapy to work through the issues with his ex-fiance. Like, I just big hearts.
I know.
Needless to say, the police do not believe Aaron.
Oh, the police don't give a fuck about this guy. Like they have like it down, shut, case closed. This guy did it.
So during the questioning that they're showing, my note says, quote unquote, this is what a detective said to Aaron. Did they swim in wearing their wetsuits?
Because it's so fucking outlandish. Like, why would someone do that? Why would someone come kidnap you in a wetsuit? Like, of all things.
I had a really hard time looking back at how they questioned him and
they were bad.
It was brutal.
It was inappropriate.
They told him that he completely failed his polygraph test.
Right.
The cop questioning him is like, so like I'm gonna know that you're a heartless bad guy.
Yeah.
So you need to tell me where you dumped her body.
Right.
I know you
over
killed
and
her.
over again.
Over and over. And he's like, what is happening? At one point during the questioning, he's laying in the fetal position.
Yeah.
Like on chairs and whispering to himself over and over again, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like,
that's brutal. Brutal.
Yeah.
She's been essentially kidnapped. So every minute, every second counts. And they're just badgering him over and over again, not looking for any other clues to see if someone, I don't know, if this actually did happen or something happened other than, it's insane. Well, I don't know.
And I like that finally Aaron gets to a point where he's like, I guess I need an attorney.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, he did say that.
What? Like.
Right.
You guys are doing nothing.
Right.
I need an attorney.
Yeah.
So then we get to hear from his attorneys. And I really enjoyed hearing from his attorneys.
I did too.
They were.
Sorry.
Am I boring you?
No. I just had to yawn.
That was a big one.
That was a big one.
They were very interesting people.
Mm-hmm. They had his back.
They did. My quote here from the attorney, his defense attorney says, I believe him, but nobody in fucking North America is going to believe him. So the South Americans will.
I believed him. Yeah. But I did. Yeah.
I don't know. I sort of, throughout the episode, it was probably just the fucking music playing with me.
Probably.
They did a really good job with the scoring.
They did.
This. I felt some doubt at certain points.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't feel like he was very, like, urgent in his...
No.
Or very emotional in his questioning either, you know?
No.
I was like...
I don't think he was either.
And at this point, I am fully convinced she's dead.
Yeah.
Because you don't see her.
No.
Denise's dad says.
Yes.
They don't give you a handbook on what to do when your daughter gets kidnapped.
Yeah. And they don't.
They don't.
That was a very nice comment. I can't imagine. Because they don't give you a handbook. They don't give you a handbook just for a regular baby. So then we meet a journalist. Do you know the journalist's name?
I didn't write it down.
Okay. I didn't write it down either. And he's working this story and he gets and it states that Denise had been kidnapped. She said she had been kidnapped. She was fine. And she was giving details to show that she was still alive. So this guy's like, what the fuck? Like, why am I getting this? You know, the journalist. And he's like, I need to get this to the cops, like, right away.
Yeah. Well, and her message says,
Yeah.
"Hi, my name is Denise
Yeah.
Huskin." Did you already say that?
No.
Okay.
But
I'm kidnapped.
I'm kidnapped.
Otherwise, I'm fine.
Right.
And then starts listing off other things that like only she would know. So
Right.
a current event, like there was a plane crash in the Alps that killed 158 people. My first concert I went to was a Blink-182 concert with my best friend. So like you would know it's
proof
her.
of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she didn't sound very frantic either. So like we talk about him and his 911 phone call and his interviews, he doesn't sound very frank or like wanting to like get out there and search for her. He's just answering these questions in like a dull tone. Her proof of life video was the same way, I think, too. It wasn't like they've got me or, you know, something like there wasn't frazzled in any way. And I thought that was odd. And that made me feel like, is she part of this? Like, did she do this? Because we haven't seen her yet. Like, what the fuck? That sounds a little too just like, hi, my name is, and everything's fine. Cool, bye. Okay. I don't know. So, and then they start to interview her parents and her brother, and they want to know if anything in the past could have come into this and like what's going on. But the parents are like, yeah, we don't know. So anyway, so they're wondering, was Denise behind this? And then we can say what they said, but then this part 2 comes. Should we just say part 2? Because they like showed it in part 1, but then they showed it again in part 2.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, again, just want to say, like, the detectives focus all of their time on Aaron. And their doubts about Aaron and their doubts about Denise. And that they sort of start to think that she is, like, gone girling herself, basically.
They get one of the cops... I don't know, have it written down somewhere else. One of the cops was even like, just go get her. Like, just tell the public that, like, she's involved and, like, we need to find her and all this kind of stuff. Not even caring about, like, if she's out there listening to this or if, like, her family's listening to this. Like, no. It was really bad.
The cops were really
They were really, really bad.
But the episode ends...
Mm-hmm.
Are we good?
Yeah.
So the episode ends with showing a video of Denise, like, walking up to her dad's house in Huntington Beach, California, 400 miles south of Vallejo.
Yeah.
And I felt like she's like carrying a duffel bag.
She's casually walking.
She looked like someone leaving a sleepover.
Right.
As like a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Like wearing what looked like
oversized
pajamas,
sweatshirt,
like oversized sweatshirt.
Yeah.
It looked like she was carrying a duffel bag. I couldn't really tell. But it was like so casual.
Yeah. And I feel like if I had just been dropped off after being kidnapped or something, I think I'd be running towards my parents' house, if anything. But that's another thing. They're left with her being dropped off at her dad's house, and you're like, what the fuck? Why was she dropped off at her dad's house 400 miles away? Like, she has to be a part of this.
That's what I thought, too, at this point. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
She did this
herself. Because she's at her dad's house now. And
and I thought, like, I thought that she was maybe watching the like media coverage of it and being like, okay, I need to like come back.
Right. So now we're into part 2, which is called Gone Girl.
Yes.
Which references the movie Gone Girl.
Correct.
Yeah.
And book.
That's true.
So the first line of this, the opening scene, you open to Denise, or a blonde woman, who appears to be Denise, sitting at a table, and this is the first thing she says. Want me to start where he put me in the trunk of a car? And I was like, huh?
Huh? Excuse me? And the first thing I noticed was she's wearing a nice shirt. So she must not be in jail. Like, this is not a jailhouse interview. That was the first thing I noticed.
I noticed that about Erin, too.
Erin was wearing, like, regular clothes, and then she appears, and you're like, wait a minute, she's wearing, like, a nice blouse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay. So that was, like, my first thing. And I was like, okay, now there's got to be something more to this than just, like, her or him. Like, it's,
yeah, but maybe
it's
they
bigger.
just, like, toss them some clothes.
Maybe. But usually they're, like, in their...
The orange
jumper or black and white or whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah. So she says that she puts on water goggles so that she cannot see, that are taped black, so you cannot see anything, which I was like, that's kind of a good idea. Like, instead of tying someone with a handkerchief in the back, like the goggles, because then it, like, stays on your face, you know? Doesn't, like... No?
Well, and you can't, like, look down.
Yeah. And then you can still breathe. Like, your nose is still out there. You're cool.
He's
like,
very considerate.
It is very considerate. I don't know. I was like, that's a good idea.
Well,
so
I want to say it so bad, but it's going to ruin it.
Why?
Well, you cut it if it ruins it?
Yeah.
Well, you don't get into Harvard by not being smart.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
She basically tells the exact same story as Erin.
Yeah, she really does.
With a lot more details of everything that happens after that house.
Right, because he was there. He never went out of the house. They kidnapped her, and he was just there. So, like, that ended for him once the kidnappers and Denise left.
Yeah.
So it's a little different for her. Yeah. So she says they're in a car, and the car stops. Is this when they switch the car?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she can smell pine trees, and it's quiet outside. So she's trying to figure out where she is. And then she gets moved into a different trunk, and she could see it was a white car, and she's going to guess it was a Mustang.
She said she heard the engine rev, and it sounded like a Mustang.
Yeah.
I appreciated so much the points she made and the things she talked about as she was, like, describing what happened. And, like, I think at one point she's like, I was trying to take in every turn, trying to remember, like, okay, we're on a freeway.
Mm-hmm. How long are we on the freeway?
How long they've been on the freeway. But she was also drugged. Mm-hmm. And so she gets really tired and, like, ends up falling asleep and then waking up and it's daylight. Yeah. And getting switched to that other car.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then when, I don't know, where do they go? I forget.
I think the it was like Tahoe somewhere.
His parents' house or something. His mom's cabin in Tahoe or something like that. So they're there for a while. That's like where they end up. And he ties her up and everything, and she's wearing those goggles. And he says something, and it says, "This wasn't meant for you. This was for Andrea." Yeah. And then she was like, "Wait, what?" He kind of, like, lets it slip out. I don't think he meant to say it, but he did.
Well, and he also mentioned some other stuff, like that he's part of, like, a black market
kidnapping ring,
like, ransom ring.
Yeah.
And that, what else does he say? And that there's, like, a whole bunch of other people. Mm-hmm. And then they talk about how, and then he tells her, like, they lost contact with Erin. Right. I mean, we can go in.
Yeah. No, it's just,
what she says.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Well, no, I was saying, like, they lost contact with Erin, and then the next thing that happens is, like, they record that video, and then he's like, there's no collateral. Yeah. So I'm going to have to film us. Yeah. Having sex, but you have to make it seem like you want it.
Yeah. Because if you know us, so if we release you, we're going to release this sex tape out into the world, and everyone's going to know it was you. Mm-hmm. So that's to keep her quiet. Which just seems like a icky.
Well, and, like, oy, my button got stuck to the bottom of the table. And she is talking about, like, all the different things she's hearing because she's in this house.
Yeah.
She never sees him.
No, she's got the goggles on.
She has the goggles on the whole time. But she's in the house, and I remember her saying she heard him playing, like, French pop music, and she thought it was really, like, calming.
Comforting,
almost.
Yeah. Like being at home.
Yeah, like, more normal. And then there's, at one point, she can hear, like, scrubbing, and he's, like, talking to some other people. So I'm like, is there really a ring?
Right.
Or is this just, like, a weird fucking...
Yeah.
I don't know.
My thing is, I think there's more than one person doing this, but I don't know how many. Not that many. Like, maybe a few. But there's got to be at least one more. And then they get the call that the footage that they had done was not good enough. And he needed to have sex with her again and make it look like they're in a relationship this time. And I was like, what? But this just seems so weird. It's just like he's like so gentle with her, like saying like, you know, we just need to make it look like this, and I'm gonna have sex with you right now. Like, he's saying these things like it's supposed to be okay because he's saying them out loud or something.
I remember her saying that for the second time there was like wine.
Yeah.
And she was like he treated it like it was a fucking date.
Right. Yeah.
And like it was just so strange and bizarre.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure if you learned here or if you learned in the third episode, I think it's here, that like she had a history of being abused.
Yeah, she did.
Like she was sexually assaulted as a 12-year-old and then again as a 19-year-old. And when she was 12, she didn't tell anyone. And she felt so guilty about not telling anyone because that same person did it to someone else. And so when she was 19, she went to go report it to the cops, and the cops told her no.
Laughed at her.
Yeah, like in the parking lot before she could even go in. I think she mentions that in the next episode. Maybe, but it felt just like...
That was horrible.
The other thing that I thought that she did a really good job of, as she was describing her recounting of the events, she says like she was pretty certain that he was going to kill her. Yeah. And the reason behind that was because when he broke in, he said it wasn't like nothing was going to happen, but it was going to be a robbery. Right. And then she ended up being kidnapped. Yeah. And then when she was kidnapped, it was just for ransom and nothing was going to happen. Like, we're not interested in you at all. Right. And now she's been raped twice. Right. And like, what's going to stop the escalation from anything else
That's got to be horrifying. Yeah. So we're now into like 40 hours of her being missing. And he decides to show her the news of her father on TV. And she says it like really felt real then, you know, like seeing her father on TV pleading for her to come back. Yeah. And he says, it's time to come home. And so the guy said, I can't drop you off in the Bay Area because there are too many cops driving around. So I'm going to drop you off in Huntington Beach at your family home. Yeah. Which is really weird because I'm like, how did they know where she lived?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's at that same address, but like, I'm going to drop you off at this spot in Huntington Beach.
Okay. Yeah. And then he said that she cannot tell anyone that they had had sex or that he was in the military for some reason.
He said he's in the military and he's bipolar and he has Gulf War syndrome, which I think is like PTSD.
Which is, I get that.
God, do you remember her mentioning that he would like tape her eyes shut? Yeah. During the sex?
Yeah. It is weird. Yeah. Yeah, so he was like, you can't tell anyone that we had sex or that I'm in the military or anything. Like, you know, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is like, what is happening?
Well, and also, like, had you not told me you were in the military, I would never have that information to tell anyone. So why would you fucking tell me that? Right. Like, what?
And then, and he had let her take off the goggles, right?
He taped her eyes closed.
Oh, he taped her. Okay. Okay. So she gets released, and then that's when she's walking back up to her dad's house. But her dad is not home because he obviously flew up to Vallejo to be with the family and find her. And so she has to call her dad. I don't know what happens.
No, she sends a text message, I think, to her dad that's like, I'm at your house.
Right.
And so her dad calls the police to tell them, like, hey, like, I'm not home.
Right.
And she goes to the neighbor's house.
Yeah, she's
like, I'm not home, but, like, my daughter who has been kidnapped is at my house. Can you please send the police? So then the police arrive.
Yes.
And there is a media frenzy.
Yes.
There are cops all over the place. There's media everywhere. She's been gone for 2 days. She's like so overwhelmed. Aaron wants to see her. Aaron wants to talk to her.
Yeah.
Like, Aaron wants to, like, be with her, you know?
And one of the things that she said, which I thought sucked, was she said, I know Aaron wanted to see me, but I was afraid that he was going to see me differently now that she had been raped and that she had been kidnapped. And he was like, I'm just not going to like you anymore. That's what she was afraid of. And I thought, to have to go through that actual rape and then to think that your boyfriend's not going to want you anymore because of that. Because of some other asshole.
God, these two people are such, like, reasonable people.
Yeah, and they really are.
Even, they say something else that I think is really interesting, too, where they're, like, she tells him, like, I didn't want him to feel like he had to be with me now because I had, like, been through this thing.
Right.
You know, like, I told him, like, it's fine. Like,
you can walk away.
Yeah, like, it's okay.
But no. They stayed.
So she talks to the police, but not the, how do you say it? Vallejo?
Vallejo.
Yeah. Not those police. She talks to the Huntington Beach police at her dad's house or the neighbor's house or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the Vallejo police are like, okay, you need to catch the next flight up here
now
to talk to us. And she gets the vibe from them that they think she's done something wrong.
Right.
So she's like, like, it sounds like you're saying, like, I'm guilty of doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm going to call a lawyer. So she does.
Yeah.
Smart. She hires a lawyer.
Please do that.
They do everything right.
Right. They do. They do.
So she hires an attorney who lives or is based out of, like, San Francisco up north.
Yeah.
And he tells her, like, get on a plane and, like, come back up here.
Yeah.
So she does. And there's, like, a whole thing with the media outside. And, like, she has a hood on and she's walking to the car. And, like, leave me alone.
Leave her the fuck alone. Yeah. Let's find out what happened first before we judge and start screaming. Is my thing. Yeah. It's like,
whenever I see something like that and, like, the media frenzy from it, I'm like, this is so toxic. And then I remember it's literally always been that way.
Yeah.
Did you know that there were media reporters that took boats out to meet the ship that picked up survivors of the Titanic to get interviews?
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yikes.
They were calling the line, like the ship line or whatever. I can't remember who made the Titanic. They were calling that manufacturer so much to, like, get interviews about what happened with the ship that they had to disconnect their phone line.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Isn't that
is insane.
Crazy?
Like, back the fuck off.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's like just this toxic
It
part
is.
of society that's always been there.
Yeah.
And I feel like we as a whole should reject it.
Yeah.
But then I also, like, want to see Gypsy Rose out of prison.
Right.
And, like,
that's true.
Gallivanting around the world.
Yeah.
So I struggle. Personally, I really struggle with it.
Well, yeah, of course.
But so the media are really shitty for her. And then we hear a clip from the police, the Vallejo police.
Yeah.
Who, because she won't talk to them, you know, like her.
Yeah.
They deem that this entire thing was a hoax. And that she made this up. And they go on TV and
They blast her.
both of them.
Fuck.
Erin Quinn and Denise Hutchins, they are a waste. Like, they have wasted precious resources that we could have been, you know, putting towards our community. Which also, fuck you. You guys didn't do shit.
You didn't do anything.
You just questioned,
two people.
Two people,
yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah, you didn't do anything.
Yeah. But they like...
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I was like, holy shit.
Bad. It's really bad. Like, I hope you can clip some of it in.
Oh, maybe I can't. I don't know if I'll have to.
You should.
Yeah.
Because
that one guy that just gets up there and like, it took... Oh, my God. It's like... The fuck? You haven't even solved the case yet.
It's
this case is unsolved.
In their mind they have, right?
All right, so then we get to part 3, and it's called The Others. And they open with a phone call to another 911 phone call, right? It's her calling 911. There was a lady calling 911, and that was in Dublin, California. And she's reporting that it's like it happened at the end of the second episode and then the beginning of the third episode. So we'll just start. She reports that there's intruders in her house. She's upstairs, locked in the bathroom, I think. Her husband's downstairs trying to defend them. And they have her daughter. And like she's just screaming and saying, please help me. Please help me.
Well, and very specific details, right?
Yeah.
She mentions there being black goggles.
Right.
And a wetsuit.
Yeah.
And these things that tie in. I'm not sure if this is in this episode, but I don't think we touched enough on, like, the person who did this spends a lot of time being really upset.
Yeah.
That the police think it's a hoax.
Right. Oh, yes.
And
they got really pissy.
But that might be coming up still. So
okay.
That's how they connect.
Okay, this is how they connect.
That's
right. Okay.
So the person committing the crime in Dublin, this attempted rape that is extremely similar to Denise's kidnapping. He leaves his cell phone behind.
He leaves it,
So,
and this is only like 40 miles away from Vallejo. It's not very far.
Yeah,
so
pretty close.
We're in a close proximity. And so they pick up the phone and they decide to just
call the last
number. Yeah, and a woman answers.
Solid police work. I loved this. I loved this police officer. The
female one.
Yeah,
yeah, she's great. And she was like, "Yeah." So this lady answered the phone and said, "Yeah, my son has this phone, and Matthew Muller. He's a former Marine and a Harvard Law graduate, and
he's a bad dude.
He's a bad dude."
Also, I did want to mention too that the police are not the Vallejo police. Like, no one's been caught. Nothing's happened. The FBI come in. The story's the same. Their story is exactly the same for the FBI, and they find out that one of the FBI investigators used to date Andrea.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Like, what a conflict of interest.
That comes in, and I was like, and this is the guy who was like, tell them to fucking do all this shit, blah, 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 blah. Like, he's the one getting all the other guys worked up, the ones that are on television, talking shit about this poor girl. And I was like, why was this not thought or seen? What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, that should have stopped it right then and there, and it would have been over. But no. This guy just dated the ex. And I'm like, that's weird because Matthew Muller said that he was looking for Andrea instead of Denise.
Weird.
So, like, how would, like, why are you knowing that? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's all
why
connecting,
are you spending,
and it's like, that's really weird.
Why are you spending so much time trying to not solve this crime?
Right. That
was initially targeting your ex. Weird, right?
It is weird.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so they asked the mom, like, do you know where he is? And she gives him, oh yeah, I have a house in South Lake Tahoe, so he might be up there staying, which
is fairly close to Dublin as well. Right?
Yes, yeah, very close, and close to where are we? Vallejo. Yeah, I couldn't think of it.
You looked at me with the blankest face.
What the fuck name is it? Yeah. Okay, so yeah.
So then the police go to the house in South Lake Tahoe.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's gross.
They find some shit.
Like, inside, it's just messy. And, like, you know, you're like, he's a Harvard grad. He's a Marine. Or he was in the military. And then you walk in his house and it's all, like, messy and gross. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, aren't Marines, like, tight and, like, everything goes in its place and everything has a place? And
hey,
what?
Some Marines have ADHD and just throw things into bags. Okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
It's my husband.
Oh, okay.
He's an ex-Marine.
Oh, is he really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
And everything is ADHD.
Yeah.
Man. But the ADHD is stronger than what those 4 years of the Marine Corps taught him. Because that man loves putting things in a plastic baggie. And then the plastic bag just lives. Who knows what's in the plastic bag?
Oh, shit. Okay.
It's my favorite thing.
I didn't know he was a former Marine. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, tell him thank you for his service.
I won't.
Rude.
I'll be sure not to.
I will text him.
He seriously will, like, clean.
Quotes.
There's air quotes. Because his idea of cleaning, or, like, if there's clutter, he'll just take the clutter and literally put it in a grocery bag and then set the grocery bag on the floor or the wires or the whatever. And then it's gone. Doesn't exist. I'm like, bro, you contained it and moved it 6 feet. It's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my whole life.
Yep.
That's it in a nutshell. He's actually been a real big fan of old Amazon boxes lately. So really piling everything in an old Amazon box.
Avery likes old Amazon boxes too.
He has things in common with 7-year-olds. So, anyways, okay, I'm saying not every.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a stereotype.
But I was just like, ew.
It was very dirty. But then they find other things. Yeah. They find weird things like
a blow up doll.
Blow up doll in his car, a flashlight.
Yeah.
Taped to a water gun. Yeah. Not even a real gun, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a real gun. They were all painted to look like real guns. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which also matched a photo that was sent to a journalist.
Mm-hmm. And there's a pair of goggles.
The goggles with a long blonde hair on it. Mm-hmm. Which starts this one police officer.
Yeah.
She's
amazing.
Girl's girl.
Yeah.
We love her.
She's like, what am I going to do with a blonde hair?
She says.
And she just fucking does it.
She says she became a cop because one of her friends was a victim of sexual assault and did not get justice. And she said, I will make it my mission to get justice.
Yeah, she's a badass.
Love her.
Yeah.
And then she starts looking through a ton of cases about, like, this sort of same MO.
Yeah.
And that's when we meet Tracy.
Yeah.
Do you have notes about Tracy or not?
No, I don't.
I thought this was very interesting.
It is.
So Tracy is from 2009.
Yeah.
And she had reported a potential rape. Mm-hmm. So she reported to the police that someone had come into her home.
Yes,
they had tied her up. Mm-hmm. And they had, like, zip tied her. They had started I think they had even put goggles on her.
Yeah. Yeah, it was going.
And they are, like, gonna start the process to, like, rape her. And then are like, oh, no, I can't do this.
Well, I think she says I was raped before or something. And then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to victimize you again.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's what happens. Yeah. And so he's like, no. Like, I can't do this.
I can't do this.
And
he walks out.
No. But before he walks out. What did he tell her?
What did he tell her? I don't remember.
He starts giving her tips.
Oh, that's right. How to be safe.
On how to protect yourself from being a victim again. Oh, you should really think about getting a dog.
Yeah.
And
oh my God. I know. I was like, what the this guy comes in to rape you and then just does a 360 and is like
bizarre.
You know, you should really lock your doors.
But you want to know what I noted from this, and this is why I'm talking about her. I mean, it was important to talk about her no matter what, because it's a huge turning point. The responding police. Do you remember what they say to Tracy?
Yeah. I
Let me
mean,
say?
go ahead.
No.
But yeah.
Quote unquote. Are you sure this wasn't just a dream?
Yeah. That's right. Oh my God. Yep. I remember that.
Fuck?
I don't have any words for that other than he needs to get punched in the nuts and fired.
Get fucked.
Yeah.
Are you sure this wasn't just a dream?
A dream.
Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've had a dream before.
Yeah.
And it didn't leave marks on my fucking wrist and make me, I don't know, call the police.
And be frazzled and fucking in shock and yeah. What a fucking dickhead.
And then they talk a lot about like how they questioned her boyfriend. Was she an attention seeker?
Yeah.
Was she making up stories? Like they do a lot of that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was shooketh.
Shooketh. Yes.
It was crazy. How?
Yeah.
It reminds me of a fucking ER doctor who asked me one time, "Do you ever think it could just be your period?"
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I'm here at 3 a.m.
Oh.
Yeah, for the thing I've had every month since I was, I don't know, 13.
Wow.
Yeah. It's probably just that.
It's probably that.
You're totally right. Man with a dick who's never had a period.
Calm down. You need to calm down. Cramps are not that bad. Okay, so then...
Sorry, I got really sidetracked there. I was really pissed off by that.
Yeah, that's...
Are you sure
yeah.
it wasn't just a dream?
Yeah, that's fucked.
Could you imagine ever responding to someone that way?
No.
Like, do you not want to do the paperwork? What the fuck is the reason?
Yeah.
For you to not do your job?
You went into that job knowing that you were going to have to help and serve and protect.
This case particularly has made me feel that police, individual members of police should be able to be sued.
Oh, they should.
For not doing their fucking job.
And that guy is 100% at the top.
Not even him. The other ones.
Well, yeah, the other ones too. The fucking FBI agent that dated the... I mean, like, why...
Goodbye.
What?
Goodbye.
The fuck?
Okay. So then... Get stuck on this forever. So then they find the Mustang. The stolen Mustang.
Yes.
And then they...
Which was behind and at the Tahoe house in the backyard.
Correct. Yeah. It's a white Mustang.
White Mustang.
So they find that. Then they reach out to the person who owned the Mustang.
Yes.
And they say, hey, like, did you lose your car?
Yeah.
Like, did you report your car stolen? Well, yes, obviously it was reported stolen. They say, we found your vehicle.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's been involved in a crime, so like you're not getting it back.
Yeah.
But like, and then the person who reported or who they call whose vehicle had been stolen is like, oh, like, did you hear about the fuck, what did they call him? The something creeper.
Yeah.
What is the name of that? The Mercer? Was it Mercer?
Maybe.
My brain just turned off. So it's like the Mercer Island creeper. And she's like, what? No, what are you talking about?
Right.
And because we're in I think we're in 2015 or late 2015 at this time. And so she's like, no, I've never heard of that. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, like all these college kids around here were having someone come and like peep in their windows and all of this stuff. And she's like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So then she follows that. And he also is like, did you hear about the Gone Girl case from here too?
Right. And she's
like, no. Which I'm like, okay, first off, you're a cop.
Yeah, like, how do you not?
How the fuck did you not know?
Any of it.
Which also just proved to me that the cops did zero.
Yeah, for sure.
Because.
For sure.
Like a cop in another department.
Misty Cruz is the lady officer. That's her name.
Okay, good. So she's like, no, never heard of it. Let me Google.
Yeah.
And that's how she finds out about it.
Yeah.
And she looks at a picture and she sees the Denise. And she's like, oh, there's a blonde hair.
Yep.
So then she calls the FBI. And then she calls the police department.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Yeah, and no one fucking answers.
And over again.
What the fuck?
And nobody answers.
For like days.
Yes. And she does not give up. She is not deterred. She just keeps trying and trying and trying because I was going to say a quote, but I forgot it. Like something, she persisted.
Yeah.
And so she finally gets a hold of someone who transfers her to the detective, and the detective's like, "Oh no, the fucking FBI took this shit over. I'm not dealing with any of this." Yeah. So then she calls the FBI, and that's when she says,
"Yeah."
Basically, she tells the detective or the FBI investigator, like, "We have a suspect in custody who matches the description of like the person who perpetrated this crime. We found his hair, blah blah blah."
Yep.
And she says they would be like, "Wow, like, you've solved this case for us. Great." And they're like, "Okay, can you send over what you have and we'll review it?"
Right. And she's like, "No."
Huh?
Excuse me? Yeah. So they find out, actually, that, which I thought was interesting, is if they would have done any police work, that the phone that Matthew Mueller was using was being held with Denise. So it was 200 meters away from if they would have just done some work. You know what I mean? What it was.
Oh my God. You're talking about the affidavit.
Yes.
That pissed me off so bad.
It was horrible.
So, but we're not there yet though. Because there's more. Like, the FBI is really reluctant, and then the FBI begins to actually, like, they do actually finally
they do
look at the evidence and everything, and they're like, "Oh fuck, like, this is exactly the same."
Right.
So then they, they press charges and blah blah. But their attorney, Denise and Aaron's attorneys, they're like, "Okay, now we can look at the affidavit to see what police work happened post their reporting." And they find nothing. They did nothing. They knew. This one pissed me off big time, because Aaron's like, "The kidnapper said that they would contact me." Right. And the police put his phone on airplane mode.
Yes. And they missed 2 calls.
Fuck. That would have been within 200 meters. 2 traceable calls.
Yeah. Insane. And then that's when they found out that he didn't actually fail. Like, I don't know if he may have failed the polygraph, but he didn't.
No.
What
he
they
didn't
told
fail.
him.
He didn't pass.
It
was inconclusive. And they told him that he failed miserably.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane.
And what else do they find out? Oh, and they find out that they said that she was not a victim of sexual assault because, like, the rape kit that they did on her, it basically, like, didn't show that there was, like, blunt trauma. Right. She's like, "Well,
because I was forced to make it look like it was my boyfriend."
There's multiple ways to be raped.
Yeah.
So basically, at the end of the day, you find that they did jack fucking shit.
Did nothing.
Because they did not believe.
And none of the officers were disciplined. The FBI agent dating Andrea was not disciplined, was not taken off the case, was not researched or whatever. Like, the case wasn't reopened to redo it differently because of him. Like, nothing happened. Nobody gave a shit. They were just like, "Okay, bye."
The detective that did that to Aaron, like, did the questioning for Aaron and everything, he won, like, Detective of the Year that year.
He did. What the fuck?
But they did find, because there was they did find that the chief, I think, of police, before that guy goes on screen saying, like, "This was a hoax," that he had said, "Burn that bitch."
Burn that bitch, yep. In regards to Denise. Yeah. So,
which they find in the affidavit.
Right. Which is horrific.
But also really helpful for them.
Yeah, helpful for them. Yeah, for sure. But, like, I don't know. I just don't. And then in September 2016, Mueller pleaded guilty in federal court to kidnapping, admitting to using computer-generated voices, blacked-out goggles, liquid sleeping medication, and other paraphernalia. in the course of abducting Hutchins. He was not charged in either the Palo Alto or Mountain View cases. So the lady that did call in that was saying her husband was downstairs fighting off, like they left the girl alone. She was fine. The dad was fine. Everything was fine. So nothing happened with them other than the trauma of it.
Yeah. Well, and the one who got asked by the police.
Yeah, and then the other one, if it was a dream. So they didn't, none of their cases went to trial or anything. And I have Mueller's attorney asked for no more than 40 years in prison rather than life for his client because he was suffering from mania and depression, and he could be rehabilitated. So he doesn't need to spend life in jail.
No. If anything, he's shown a pattern and a history of being dangerous and violent.
And he was sentenced to 40 years in jail. Prison. I don't feel like I told you, I feel unsettled. Like, why did this happen in the first place? What was he planning on doing with Andrea, whatever, I don't know how to say her name. Like, he kidnapped Denise, but it was supposed to be Andrea. What was the purpose of that? What was he going to do to her? Was he going to rape her and just let her go? Was he going to rape her and kill her? Was he, like, what was this whole thing about? Like, we never got any answers. He never said why he did any of this.
The only thing I can think of is that, like...
This is a very, like, extreme, like, 2-day period that he did, and there's no fucking answer as to why he did it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is, like, because he knew Aaron's name. So, like, he had to have been following him in some way, shape, or form.
I guess.
And, like, I don't think that him and Andrea were not a couple for that long. I want to say it was, like, sub 6 months.
Okay.
So, like...
I don't know. It's
maybe because he says, like, no, Andrea hasn't lived here in a few months.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, like, maybe he just, like...
I don't know. It was just weird to me.
Well, like maybe he just fucking had his, like, people wrong. You know? Like...
Yeah.
He just thought that Aaron was still with Andrea and, like, didn't assume differently because they both kind of look similar, too. You know? Like, they're both blonde women.
But was his intent just to rape? I mean, that's what...
It seems like it. It seems like that's what he was doing.
Didn't matter which girl it was.
Yeah, well, his intent with the 22-year-old woman whose parents called the police was to also just rape her.
Yeah. I don't know. I just felt like it was, like, left unfinished. And I'm like, why? Why
really happy to know that Aaron and Denise sued the city for defamation and won.
Only $2.5 million. Only. Give me a break. I would have been like, add a couple more zeros to that million, please. Like, that's insane. The fact that they defamed them over the broadcast television, like, blamed them for everything, didn't actually do any work, had cops on there that knew the people that weren't supposed to be. I mean, what the fuck? 2.5 million? I'd be like, take that back. Come back with a bigger number, please. Thanks.
Yeah, I did really appreciate, too, that they had the opportunity to have their own publicized, like, press conference.
Yes. Yeah.
Where they didn't speak, but they were able to, like, show their face and their strength. I appreciated that.
Yeah. I thought that was a nice way to do that, too.
And then the end, you know, where they're like, we moved to the coast and we have our daughters and our life's complete. Oh.
Yeah. And they got married. Happily ever after.
I love that.
Yeah.
They did really seem like such good people.
They did seem like good people. Yeah. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at
The Murder Mamas,
Facebook,
The M Mamas,
Twitter,
The Murder Mamas,
email,
themurdermamas@gmail.com.
And if you like us and are happy with our content, please leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We would appreciate it. Bye.